Camera's rolling. Hi, I'm Mike, and this is an episode of Watch This Instead. In fact, the episode of Watch This Instead for the week ending the 25th of September 2009. Last week, TIFF ended. The Toronto International Film Festival. We saw 35 movies. That's why my eye tried to swell itself shut. And that's why I got this really nice beard. And all the movies we saw at TIFF, the one thing, especially the Midnight Madness ones, which are the genre films, the one that we like, this year was marked more than any other year by the fact that filmmakers are kind of looking for new territory. And the way that they're doing that is by blending old genres together. We saw Jennifer's Body, which is like a horror movie plus a teen girl buddy comedy. And we saw Daybreakers, which is a vampire film crossed with a sci-fi film. And that theme kind of continued for us this week when we went and saw Pandorum, directed by a person called Christian Alvar, or Alvart. I'm not sure, because I only saw it as written as a word, not pronounced in a language. It's a new entry in the very small but very proud genre of deep space horror, going mad and staring into the void movies. And the film is this crazy mix of sci-fi, murder mystery, where they're trying to figure out what happened to the ship, and a legitimately scary horror action movie, being chased by these really legitimately gross and terrifying alien mutant things. And the movie's got a lot of strengths because of that, and it's got a lot of weaknesses because of that. The fact that it's kind of a murder mystery where you don't know what's going on informs the horror part. And the horror part informs the murder mystery part. But the whole thing just kind of gets muddled, unfortunately. For it to be a really good, deep psychological horror, psychological thriller like it's trying to be, you have to spend some time developing your characters. But the film can't really develop its characters because the characters have amnesia. And the characters have amnesia because there's a secret mystery at the heart of the film. So the film's trying to do a few too many things, succeeding at some, but ultimately not really working on a fundamental level. The psychological horror part, the part that this specific genre can do so well, is kind of missing. And that's unfortunate. And if you want to watch that thing done really, really well, you got to go back. I mean, it's obvious. This might be the most obvious Watch This Instead thing that we've ever done, but you got to watch Alien. It was directed by Ridley Scott, and I know you've probably seen it already, but it's a good enough movie that you should watch it again, because it's this film perfected. One person that has seen Alien is one of the co-producers of this film, Paul W.S. Anderson, who's a really big fan of Ridley Scott's. And he also directed a film called Event Horizon, which is also probably the most famous deep space horror movie. And it's got a little bit of a cult following. If you haven't seen it and you want something that's really gross and happens in space and scary, you could rent that. If anything, this film, Pandorum, other than these sci-fi ones, space really reminded me of is a really good English movie from 2005 called The Descent, in which a bunch of girls go down into a cave and find a bunch of scary humanoid mutants that want to eat them, and then spend the whole movie running through the system of caves trying to escape them. So if you want to see that kind of scary movie, but you've seen Alien, or you don't want to go to the theater and see Pandorum, which you should if you like horror movies, I guess, you could watch The Descent. Or, I got one more suggestion. The best part of Pandorum is the main actor in it, Ben Foster. I love this guy. He's like this little small dude. I don't even know how tall he is. He can't be taller than 5'9", and he's like the most intense dude of all time. I love him. And he was the main bad guy in the weird Western, or one of the main bad guys in the weird Western movie 3:10 to Yuma. And he was also one of the main guys in Alpha Dog. So look for those too if you want to see Ben Foster, Mr. Intensity. And he also, Ryo says, had a pretty big role in 6 Feet Under, so you can watch that instead. If you don't want to go all the way to the theater to watch Pandorum, go to zip.ca, click on one of their banners, because that will help us get some money, and rent Alien if you haven't seen it, rent Event Horizon if you haven't seen it, rent The Descent, rent 6 Feet Under, rent 3:10 to Yuma, or rent Alpha Dog. Okay?